Hey guys, welcome to Radium TV, episode number 2. KDE here.
Bradley Denniston.
What are we looking at today?
Man, we got a lot in store. Today in Music Talk, we got the charts, top 5 albums in the world, with the Trolls soundtrack.
Cupcake?
Album review. We're gonna be reviewing Frank Ocean's Blonde. It's a little old by now, but it's 2016, you know what I'm saying? Then we got an Indie Spotlight with Nash. All right, and in Tech Talk, we got a tech review in virtual reality VR. And in the Pro Audio Corner, Gear Talk on the audio over IP format. We got Dante, Ravina, AES-67, some really big formats, really exciting stuff.
All right guys, stay tuned. Billboard 200 at number 5, we have Drake's Views.
You used to call me on my. You used to.
The interesting part about this is there's really 2 sounds on this album to me, and one comes from 40 and the other comes from 1985, which are the producers who did, One Dance and, kind of the reggaeton, kind of dancey stuff on there. One thing to really note with that is they put trap drums to everything. So whether it was, dance hall style drums, it was always trap sounds. This summer, this was one of the hottest albums coming out of the summer because of the sound and how it leaned to the pop side with the dance hall, but it still had the trap, and then he had, the reflective records that he did with 40 that, were more dreamy and, the usual Drake sound, so.
And coming in at number 4, Ray Sherman with Shrem Life 2.
Yeah, this album is kind of continuation of their party theme, trap music, turn up, you know what I mean? It's all that feel. This album's really here because of the Mannequin Challenge and how popular that became in mainstream culture and stuff like that. So Black Beatles was number 1 on the charts.
Yeah.
Their hooks are catchy, they're solid.
Yeah, great album. I think it's doing well for many reasons.
At number 3, we have Trolls, the soundtrack.
I got this feeling. I think they put this together pretty well. It's a pop album, really. It's Justin Timberlake executively producing it. The guy's got plenty of musical experience. He's had experience with Disney growing up. He's also got Max Martin on there helping him out, probably with the beats and getting some compositions down. And then Shellback. I mean, these guys are staples in the pop community. I mean, the song Can't Stop the Feeling, it's putting Justin Timberlake right back at number 1. Like, the guy knows what he's doing. And these songs are well developed. There's good songwriting on them, and it fits the rainbow magical troll world so well. So it's nice, it fits the visual.
Dance is always going to be a staple of, the charts. So having Justin Timberlake come back on some dance music is really important. And putting him in, the setting of modern dance, which is taking it back to the 80s, the 70s, disco, funk.
Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
Coming in at number 2, A Pentatonic's Christmas. When's the last time an album from an a cappella group hit number 2 on the billboards?
You know what the interesting part for me is that it's Christmas and people are really feeling the vibe, so they're going out and buying these albums. It shows you how many consumers that you have within, the Christmas group that really want to go and buy an album, and I think it's cool that it's a cappella, first of all.
Yep. A big part of this is with like the Pitch Perfect series. They did 3 of those movies. But I feel like that really kind of called attention back into the acapella thing, as well as the TV shows that are out there and stuff. But acapella is really hard to record. You don't have bass guitars, you don't have keyboards, pianos, violins, you only have the human voice. There's a really good Sound on Sound that talks about it with the engineer that did their last album. Maybe not this Christmas album, but their last album. And it picks apart the engineering involved in trying to get like a low bass male to sound,
like
full, like a sub. And there's things that we use, like we use the Waves
Max bass.
Yeah, Max bass. We use Max bass like crazy. A lot of engineers do. So it's an interesting thing to get that placement and to get that vibe with just vocals.
It shows you, how important melody is, how important the human voice is. You don't see instrumental albums getting this far, and especially Christmas ones. So I think having the holidays here is really, making a change. So At number 1, we have We Got It From Here, Thank You For Your Service by A Tribe Called Quest.
It's very right now, you know? It's very political, it's charged. The mix for it, at first, when I first heard it, I was like, what'd they do with the vocal? You know? It's like all big, like verbed out. Sounds like there's like a slap, like a slappy plate on it with a, you know, big pre-delay. I didn't like it at first. And then when I heard the song and I listened to the lyrics and you know, the drums are this like big, almost like a
hip-hoppy.
Just big, heavy 90s hip-hop, but also like rock, you know, and compressed. And it's this like revolt, it's this political charged song, We the People, you know? And it works really well.
You don't see a lot of hip-hop albums do number 1 on the charts, or number 1 on the billboards. Like, it's awesome to see, you know, the thing that you love so much, you know, kind of make a comeback for once. And, you know, a legendary group like A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, can I kick it?
Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it?
And these guys come from the 90s golden era of hip-hop, right? And them coming back out with an album in 2016 and hitting number 1 on the Billboard 200 for their album, not a single, but their whole album, that's saying a lot.
Muslims and gays, boy, we hate your ways.
So Frank Ocean drops an album, Blonde. I know it's been out for a while, but what do you think?
The cool thing about it is this album is just like simplicity, I think, within music. I think that's what it tailored itself to, the production on it, the vocals.
This album really came out of music. It wasn't trying to follow any trends. It wasn't trying to do anything that's hot right now and make $1 million. It's all based on good players, good songs. The arrangements are not typical. You're not going verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It's really just feels raw and bare. And I like that.
It's a good guy, he hooked it up. Said if I was an NY, I should look you up. First time I ever saw you.
One thing he does really good is he has control and poise, and his voice is used melodically as an instrument a lot of the times too. So
yeah, I feel like it was very thought out. Even if it is minimalist and people think this isn't a pop album, this doesn't have the structure that I'm used to, I feel like that's very intentional. And it's a great album. I think on the grade scale, we'd probably give this right around 92%.
It's minimalism, and you can play it in the background and not like it be in your face. It's really great music to drive to do, you know, chores at home to. You know, it's just like an album you can study to. It's like
to smoke to.
Yeah, everyday life. So it's a great album for that. So today's Indie Spotlight is on Nash, a good friend of mine actually.
Nice.
I've known him through just being around G-Eazy and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where we are, we are never far apart. No, doesn't matter where we go, when I'm with you I am home.
He's been always at the shows DJing. He was doing a lot of things. He was always behind the scenes. But now he's kind of really come to the forefront, and I think that's why it's important to cover him and look at him, because, you know, his music is charting now. His top song, I Hate You, I Love You, was number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the world. So
wow, that's impressive. My first impression of Nash is that he sounds young right now, honestly, but I think he has so much potential to keep going where he's going. He's writing some really nice pop songs. The accompaniments, the arrangements, the compositions are very digestible, and the production is very clean. And the vocalist he's working with, the female vocalists, they sound great.
Feeling used, but I'm still missing you, and I can't See the end of this, just wanna feel your kiss against my lips, and now all this time is passing by.
Everything that he writes is based around the melodies, the pianos, the chords. So even though he's rapping, he's giving you something catchy to go along, and singing along has become so important in 2016, and I think he's just like following that, you know.
The I Hate You, I Love You single that he did, it's like you can see the growth night and day from his earlier stuff just a couple of years ago. And maybe that's the, you know, getting on Warner Brothers and upping his production, his mixes. His mixes are way better. The production, the choices of drums, things like that, they glue a lot better to the track. They make a lot more sense. You can hear his influences right now, but I think it's just a matter of time. Like a year or two, you're gonna be like, wow, he's into his own voice and he's got his own thing going on.
Friends can break your heart too, and I'm always tired, but never of you. If I pulled a you on you, you wouldn't like that shit. I put this reel out, but you wouldn't bite that shit. I type a text, but then I never mind that shit. I got these feelings, but you never mind that shit. Oh, keep it on the low. You still in love with me, but your friends.
Virtual reality is now a thing. It's here, 2016.
Yeah, VR, is it like, you know, is it for everyone? Is it for a certain, you know, group of gamers? Or are these are like all questions people don't understand. And a lot of people don't even understand the platform.
Right.
But VR is for everyone.
I think that they're going to have a hard time bringing it into the mainstream. I think they're trying to figure that out. All these companies are trying to figure this out right now. Right now, the gaming industry is having a heyday with it. The audio industry has head tracking. You know, Waves released the NX plugin, tracks your head movements while you're moving around. The sound is kind of changing dynamically around you.
Right now, we kind of have this kind of wars between HTC Vive and the Oculus. And really, this is kind of similar to when Blu-ray came out, and it was Blu-ray versus, you know, HD DVDs.
Right.
And different companies supported different, you know, standards.
Who's going to be the mainstay?
So who's going to be the mainstay for VR is the question really coming up. And you'll see that within 2017, 2018, 2019. You'll see where the customers are going. The Oculus Rift, which is backed by Facebook and by these major companies that are pouring into it, Alienware, Dell, they're all pouring their information and their technology and their money into it. HTC is just swallowing that market space, and it's because of their ability to release and release fast. It's similar to when the Sony PlayStation 2 came out, and then the Xbox 360 came out. It was a war. Xbox 360 hit the marketplace first with all these options, and they took the majority of the open market share for, you know, a next gen console or whatever. Same thing with VR here. But the truth is, VR is, you know, backed by pretty much every major company, from Google to Apple to, you know,
Sony.
Every technology company is getting on it.
I think the interesting part is when you put Moore's Law into play here, which is the doubling of processing power every year, and the compounding effect of that is going to be really something to watch with VR. Like by next year, literally the end of 2017, where are we going to be with VR? Is it going to be in everyone's house? You know, remember when VCRs first came out, or DVD players for the home? Those things were so high priced, and then the price went down slowly. But with VR, and because of Moore's Law, I feel like the price point's high right now, but it's going to go down really quick.
Yeah, there's going to be a land grab where all these companies like, oh, well, we could do this, we could do this. It's, you know, when, you know, cell phones came out and you could have smartphones where apps came out, people were like, the app for this, app for that.
I think it's important to remember what that's going to do to the audio industry too. Like for the visual effects industry with 3D, you had all these houses that did the 3D effects. They would take someone's film and then make it into 3D. And they charge all this money in these farms, these rendering farms and things to do this. With audio, it's the same thing. You got to stay on top of that. You'll be mixing records for VR. You'll be mixing video games for VR. Head tracking, all these things. You'll have systems set up for VR, audio systems. Because not everyone's going to want to have headphones on their head the whole time they're playing VR games. That's not very natural for a lot of people. So I think that's a really interesting category to think about too.
The way sound is going to happen is via programming, you know, similar to video games where triggers trigger parts. If it's an album or if it's, you know, if it's a movie, the score is going to be triggered by certain events or something like that. You know, it's going to be more interactive audio is what it's called. I think you're going to start seeing choice within these things. So giving choice to the viewer, whether it's a movie, you know what I mean, it's going to change the score, and so all of a sudden you're going to have two different scores for the same, you know, scene based on choice. Things like that.
It's a Goosebump book.
Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Goosebumps!
The companies, is Avid going to take over the audio part of this? Is Apple going to jump ahead of Avid with this and put them out of business? What's going to happen with these huge, you know, Pro Tools and Logic and Sonar and these people that make these DAWs? Are they going to jump on this and see it as an opportunity, or are they going to see it as a fad?
You know, 5.1 scoring is going to be so important now.
It already is. It already is. Everything is in 5.1. I mean, when we do movies, it's 5.1. Even when you're on the scoring stage recording the orchestra, it's recorded in a 5.1 fashion. I think a lot of it is based on where we found 3D TVs in movies about 5 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, when it really hit the mainstream and everyone was going to the theater and you were like, oh, you can watch the digital version or the 3D version. And you know, that's kind of starting to die out. I mean, a lot of people prefer just the normal 2D, but you have the option. I think virtual reality will be an option, and in a couple years we'll be ready for it. Audio over IP. This is a new emerging technology, and it's becoming commonplace in the studio and live sound. What are we thinking about this, Kev?
It's funny because we say it's emerging technology, and it's absolutely true, but I remember hearing about this years ago at AES 2012 or...
Yeah, leave it to the audio industry to adapt very slowly.
The main thing to understand here is that we're using Ethernet cables to transfer information across multiple networks. So you're creating new opportunities between multi-room studios and, you know, multi-room facilities, the way we transmit information. So we could potentially in the future put an Ethernet cord in every piece of hardware we have and do all our routing digitally. You know, it opens up a lot of new interesting conversations.
Yeah, it's the Cat 5, Cat 6 cable can handle a lot of data very quickly, right? So a lot of this is, the key word here is network, right? So we're trying to basically move audio very quickly, and that's always been the problem with sound, right? Is we need to move it quickly and digitally through a system without latency. These systems, Dante, Ravina, AES67, these are all trying to answer that question, and they are. There's no latency involved anymore. The data's traveling through your Cat 6 cable. It's hitting a system, like let's say it's Dante. It's converting it to a different format of zeros and ones, and it's holding it, storing it on that system, and then passing it around wherever it needs to go. So a lot of the times you have to look at it as an analog patch bay, but it's all on the computer, it's digital, and it could go to multiple places. You have as many mults as you want, and it can travel anywhere.
I think the conversation really is how much digital do we want? Because there are this set of engineers who love analog. I love analog. I use analog equipment for all my mixes. There's a group of us who rely on this, and routing everything digitally is a different workflow. It's a different way of working. Sound has always been a natural thing. We want to use tubes. We want to use all these things. Now we're changing our preamps to be digital, you know, using AES 67, Ravina. We're using all these different protocols now to communicate. Things are changing, you know, we have more USB mics than ever, and it's really, we're seeing the necessity of, you know, networking between all our audio devices. But I think there's a lot of staunch engineers who want to go against what's new, and they don't want that. They want their analog patch bays, they want, you know, their USB converters, and they want everything to be how it was, and I think that's like really the hardest push.
And I would say that there's a misunderstanding in that area. I installed a Focusrite Red Net Dante system, and they have converters, you know. The conversion can happen at the box and get onto Dante and then be passed around the network. So you can use all your tube gear, you can use all your front end analog I mean, what's the difference between that and converting to go into Pro Tools with a converter? It's always going to hit a 0 and 1 scheme. It's going to go digital. It's going to go from digital to analog. So you can still use your front end. You can still have a full SSL, 4K, 9K, J. It can go into the converters. It can get put onto the Dante network, and then it can come back out. And the conversion technology is so good now that you're not losing a whole lot. The flexibility of it, once people educate themselves to it, they would understand that it's just like an analog patch bay, but you can remote control your preamps, and you can tell this to go there and that to go there. You could literally normal all of your analog gear. You can say, I want my 1176s on channels 1 through 16. You know, if you're Chris Lord Algae and you can afford that.
Welcome to Mix LA here in Tarzan. I'm Chris Lord Algae, and this is my mixing studio.
They can be normaled into converters, and those converters will convert and then go onto the Dante system. Now, think about the flexibility of being able to click and say, all right, I want my snare to go to 1176.1 out and that, and you don't get the latency, and you have a digital patch bay. Instead of putting this into that with a cable that's analog and degrading the system and the signal, we are just putting an X on the Dante cross, XY pattern. It's actually so flexible. I think that the problem right now is the cost. And also, who needs to collaborate anymore? I feel like in 2016, we lost collaboration efforts. I feel like everyone's they're sitting at their desk on a keyboard, making all their own music, all their own compositions, doing their vocal parts, playing their own guitar. And hopefully this can bring back that sense. You can wire a studio together and everyone can collaborate again. You know, this guy's awesome at guitar, this guy plays keys amazing, and that's our vocalist. Like, they can be all over the place. And I'd almost like to see it so fast and transparent that we can travel intercontinental and really get this technology so fast and seamless that we can collaborate from wherever we're at. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 2 of Radium TV. If you haven't already, go check out episode 1. Lots of good stuff in there. Also, we're gonna have a Spotify playlist for you for all the music we reviewed today.
Also, make sure to check in every 2 weeks for a new episode.
And hit us on Twitter with any questions. We're gonna have a new segment called Mailbag and we'll answer them for you.
Make sure to check out radium-media.com for the latest updates.
Thanks, guys.